clause, clause, clause. So, you want to know about the word clause? Well, let me tell you that in grammar, a clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, and it can stand alone as a complete sentence. It's essentially the main part of a sentence that expresses a thought or idea. As it's part of speech, a clause can be either a noun, a thing, an adjective, describing something, or a verb, an action. In common usage, we often use clauses to connect ideas in sentences with words like if, because, or although. For example, if I say, I will go to the store because it's open late, then because it's open late is an adverbial clause that explains why I'm going to the store. And here's a special note. Clauses can also be dependent or independent. An independent clause has a subject and a verb, while a dependent clause relies on another clause to complete its meaning, often starting with words like although, if, or because. In a formal meeting, the chairperson introduced the new company policy by stating, the amendments to the contract will be effective immediately, in accordance with Article 5, subsection B of the Employee Handbook, which includes the revised clause regarding paid time off. This sentence uses clause to refer to a specific section of a larger document. In contrast, when chatting with friends at lunch, Emma said, I'm not sure I agree with that new clause in the gym's membership contract. It seems like they're trying to get us to sign up for an extra year automatically. Here, Emma uses clause to refer to a specific provision within a contract. In an academic article on linguistic analysis, the author wrote, the researcher found that the use of gerunds and clauses in contemporary spoken English was significantly more prevalent than in written texts, suggesting a shift towards more conversational language structures. In this context, clause is used as a technical term to describe a specific grammatical construction. So you want to know what that tiny part of a sentence is called? It's basically a small group of words that contains a condition or exception that affects the main part of the sentence. Imagine you have a rule, like if it's raining, we'll cancel the party. But then there's an added bit that says, but if it's just a drizzle, we can still have it. That extra part is kind of like a tiny protector that helps make sure everyone understands what's going on. It's often used to soften or modify something in the main sentence, making it more precise and clear. In linguistics, this little group of words is also related to phrases like if, or, except, and it can be seen as a way to add nuance or specificity to an otherwise general statement. Compound, compound, compound. Hello, let's talk about the word compound. As a language teacher, I'd be happy to break it down for you in detail. So, the word compound can be both a noun and a verb, it depends on how we use it. Commonly, as a noun, compound refers to something that is made up of two or more things combined together, like a compound word in language, e.g., bookshelf, or a chemical compound in science, e.g., water. As a verb, compound means to combine several things into one, such as when you compound interest on an investment. In everyday life, people often use the word compound to talk about financial interest rates or property ownership. For example, someone might say they have a compound house that includes multiple living spaces or a compound bank account with high returns. In a formal setting, one might say, the newly constructed dam was found to have compromised the natural ecosystem due to an excessive amount of toxic compounds in the water supply. Here, the word compound is used to refer to complex chemical substances that affect the environment. In a casual conversation, someone might say, "I'm going to hit the compound with my friends this weekend. We're gonna play laser tag and have some fun." In this context, the word compound refers to an enclosed area or building where recreational activities are held. A business or academic setting might use the phrase, "The company's financial compound interest rate has increased significantly over the past quarter," resulting in substantial gains for investors. Here, the word compound is used to describe a concept from finance, specifically referring to the process of interest being calculated on both initial and accumulated values. So you want to learn about a concept that's a group of things joined together in a way that creates something new and stronger? It's like a combination of two or more parts that work together to produce an effect that's greater than the sum of its individual parts. This is often used in math, science, and engineering to describe a complex system or structure made up of smaller components. For example, a mixture of ingredients or a collection of numbers that are added together, multiplied, or squared can create something entirely new and useful. It's similar to an aggregate, which refers to a group of things collected or joined together. Like pebbles on a beach or pages in a book. Think of it as building with Legos. You take many individual blocks and connect them in different ways to create something unique and stronger than the original parts. Conflict. 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 So, let's dive into the word conflict. The part of speech is noun, which means it refers to a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, an abstract concept. In common usage, conflict typically implies a situation where two or more parties have opposing views, interests, or goals that lead to disagreements, arguments, or even physical fights. Think of conflicts like disagreements with your friends, family members, or colleagues at work. It's usually not something you want to happen. What's interesting is that conflict can also refer to an internal struggle within oneself. Like when someone grapples with making a tough decision or struggles with their own emotions and thoughts. One special note about the usage of conflict is that it's often used in formal contexts, such as academic writing, politics, or business, whereas in everyday conversations, people might use more casual terms like fight, disagreement, or simply argument. Let's take a look at some practical examples of using the word conflict in different contexts. Imagine you're having a discussion with your friend about current events, and you want to explain the situation between two countries. In a formal tone, you might say something like, "The ongoing conflict between North Korea and South Korea has escalated tensions on the Korean peninsula, leading to increased military presence from both sides." Here, conflict refers to a state of disagreement or war between nations. In a more casual conversation with a colleague about your work project, you could say, "I've been having some issues with John and our team. We're experiencing conflict over how to approach the marketing strategy for the new product launch. Maybe we should schedule a meeting to iron out our differences." In this context, conflict means disagreement or argument between people. In an academic setting, you might write, "The researcher's findings highlighted the potential conflict of interest inherent in the pharmaceutical industry's funding of medical research studies, raising questions about the validity and reliability of the results." This suggests a need for further investigation into the ethics of sponsored research. Here, conflict refers to a clash between different interests or values, often with implications for fairness or objectivity. So you want to know about situations where two people or groups have strong disagreements or opposing views that can't be easily resolved? It happens when individuals or groups with different opinions, values, or interests clash, and this difference leads to tension, frustration, or even hostility. This type of situation typically involves a struggle between different perspectives, often with one side feeling strongly about their position and the other side disagreeing just as deeply. In these cases, finding common ground or a mutually acceptable solution can be very challenging, if not impossible.